welcome back to my channel. My name is Bree and today I'm going to be doing my October reading wrap-up. I ended up having a much smaller pile of actually completed books at the end of October than I did in September. In September I finished 11 books. October I finished 4 and I gave all of them 4-star ratings. There was 1 mystery, 2 middle grades, and 1 YA. So I'll go over them in the order that I read them in. Okay, the first book I finished was actually an audiobook, and it is The Black Tower. It is set in 18th century France. Let me double check that it is indeed 18th century France. Nope, it's 19th century France. Sorry, remember the 18. It's actually 19th century. And we are following a young doctor who gets drawn into this crazy mystery where people are being murdered trying to tell him this secret because they think he knows something. Turns out it's not really him they're looking for, but he is taken into the company of Vidocq, who is a former French criminal and is now a great investigative detective. If you like Sherlock and you're interested in reading a book that reads quite a bit like a French, foul-mouthed, slightly loony Sherlock, I highly recommend this one. It was a little bit odd. I enjoyed the audiobook. It was read by Simon Vance, who's one of my favorite narrators. And it was a fun mystery. It wasn't great though. So you're following this doctor as his life slowly begins to unfold and he realizes how much he doesn't know about his family and their past, as well as the political past of following the French Revolution, and how that plays into all of these people that come looking for him. And Vidocq shows up in all these crazy get-ups and he's just following him around. It reminded me a lot of Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Sherlock Holmes. So if you're into that and you like historical fiction and mystery, it's a pretty good read. It's not the best I've ever read, but it's definitely entertaining. The second book I read was actually a NetGalley, one I got from NetGalley for free, and that is Cat Wolfe Investigates, if that will focus. It is a middle grade mystery with a little bit of spy thriller flair. It follows Cat Wolfe, whose mother is a veterinarian in London and has to work long hours, but one night when Cat is left home alone, somebody breaks into the house and the mom says, "Enough's enough, we are going to move somewhere where you are safer." And so they move to this small town near the coast, and from there Kat begins her own pet sitting company, and while her mom's the local veterinarian. And suddenly one of the people that she's pet sitting for, she's watching his bird, she gets this gut instinct that something is terribly wrong and that something bad has happened. And she ends up making friends with another girl. She's horse sitting her horse. She is pet sitting the girl's horse. They kind of go into this like Nancy Drew type trying to solve the mystery together. And it ends up being about Russian spies too. So it's very weird and convoluted. It gets there, but it is a lot of fun and I liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I think if I had actually been the intended age bracket, about 12 years old like the character, I would have loved it even more. Next up, I read another middle grade because I tried reading in the middle of the month the Phoenix Empress and Lethal White, which are... Phoenix Empress is a high fantasy novel sequel to The Tiger's Daughter, and Lethal White is the 4th book in the Cormoran Strike series from J.K. Rowling. It's a mystery series. Both of those books ended up being really heavy and dragging me down a lot because they both involve PTSD and just a lot of sorrow, and reading them at the same time put me in a major reading slump. So I went for my tried and true trick of reading middle grade and YA to get out of reading slumps when they do happen, and because of that I picked up The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding. And this follows Prosper, who lives in a small town in Massachusetts. I think it's Massachusetts. And he is from a highly successful family. Everyone is great at everything they do, and he is an identical twin. He is not an identical. He has a twin sister named Prue, who is perfect and can do no wrong. She's very popular. She's good at everything she tries. Prosper is kind of the family's misfit. He messes up a lot. He's clumsy. Teachers don't like him. Adults don't like him. The grandmother, who's like the matriarch of the family, even thinks he's kind of odd. But during the town's festival, he and his sister start walking home, and when they get to the family home, all their cousins, all their aunts, all their uncles, everybody is there, and the grandmother takes them down into the basement, and it is discovered that the family's good luck is not because they're all good at a ton of things. They had previously signed a contract with a demon, or as they're called in this book, a fiend. And it turns out they tried to kill this fiend several centuries before by trapping it in a human body, and it somehow escaped and would eventually be reborn into the family line. And guess who has the demon inside them? Yes, that would be Prosper. So from there, it's this crazy story of trying to save the family from the demon, but also the demon takes over sometimes. This is funny, it's cute, it's actually a little scary sometimes. I like adult horror, so I wasn't scared, but I could definitely see somebody in the age-appropriate reading level being a little freaked out. I really enjoyed the magic systems in this. I didn't 100% understand them, and I hope in the future books it's gone into a little bit more how it all works, or are they just witches? I really loved all the animal companions, like the bat cat Toad, who is also a fiend. Alistair presents himself as a white fox, and then the little hob creature. It's a lot of fun. It had everything I love about middle grade fantasy novels, and it actually, I was surprised, had a little bit of the humor that I really love when I'm reading Rick Riordan books. It had little bits of that. So if you're looking for a new middle grade with a little bit of a spookier twist, definitely recommend this one. I gave it 4 stars, closer to like 4.5. The final book I read in the month of October is Escaping from Houdini, which is book 3 in the Hunting Jack the Ripper series, which follows Audrey Rose Wadsworth and Thomas Cresswell. They are friends / future engaged couples / fellow apprentices to her uncle, who is basically a medical examiner. This is 19th century England, I believe. Is it 19th or is it 20th? Who knows? So yeah. Actually, I can look that up. When was Jack the Ripper? Okay, so this would be 19th century, which I could have just looked inside the book. And this one follows, if you have not read the first 2 books, each one's in a different location. This one is on a cruise, on a ship heading from England, which is where the first book happens, to America, where they are going to assist in a series of investigations. And while they are on this ship, it has a special bonus factor of there's a carnival, which sounds cool and exciting. Until mysteriously every night the carnival performs, somebody is either murdered or a dead body is found, and they are all posed in a way to look like tarot cards. And it's a race against the clock to find who is doing all these killings before they reach American soil, and the murderer gets away, as well as not getting murdered themselves. I really liked this book. I enjoyed my time reading it. I have no major complaints. I gave it 4 stars though, because I felt like it didn't focus as much on the forensic aspects like it did in the first 2 books, which was why I originally loved this series. This was a little bit more romance heavy and dealing with Audrey Rose's internal struggles as she's trying to figure out who she is. Did I still love this book? Yes. Recently on Twitter, Kerri Maniscalco, the author, announced that the next book, the 4th book, will indeed be the last book in the series. That is upsetting, but I cannot complain. This has been a really great series so far. These are 4 books I read in the month of October. Each one I gave 4 stars. And if you've read any of them, let me know. So have a great day and happy reading.